Facebook, good morning. Instagram, good morning. We are live. Facebook may be taking a little bit of time. There we go. Good deal. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the PT on Ice Daily Show. My name is Julie Brower, and I am currently serving as a TA for the Older Adult Division alongside our lead faculty, Christina Previtt and Dustin Jones. So first things first, everyone, I am in a shared amenity space right now. I just moved into a new apartment and all of the quiet rooms were taken. So if you hear some background noise, I'm sorry. And you may see some people working out up there. So try and not get distracted. But we're just going to go with it and see what happens. So it is Wednesday, which means it is Jerry on Ice Day. And so we will kind of just quickly go over everything that's happening in the older adult front. So our next 8-week online cohort starts on August 18th, and that is starting to fill up quickly. So if you're interested, make sure you get a spot ASAP. You can catch us on the road to close out the summer here, which is crazy. Time is flying by. We will be in Evans, Georgia on August 21st, and then we will be in Everett, Washington, October 2nd, and we'll be in Casper, Wyoming on September 18th. So got one more for the summer, and then we'll start ramping it up in the fall. And if you're interested in any courses, like we always say, just reach out to any of us, and we will be happy to answer any questions that you guys have. So our topic today, make it meaningful, load it, dose it, is basically this formula and this process that I use every single time that I am structuring a PT session in the hospital or in acute rehab. And so this is part of a big overarching theme of bringing a fitness forward approach to acute care. So if you're familiar with ICE, then you well know that we are very, very fitness forward company. And a lot of you probably look at that as basically something that belongs in the fitness athlete scene, so a CrossFit athlete. But this approach also belongs in acute care, in the hospital, with a sick, hospitalized older adult. So what is the fitness forward approach? Quick and dirty version is basically planting the seed of fitness in the setting of sickness to inspire patients to take control of their health and move towards wellness. So this formula of make it meaningful, load it, dose it, is what that fitness forward approach looks like in clinical practice. So I am a float therapist, which means I can go to a different facility every day of the week. And that can mean that I meet different humans every single day. And that's exhausting, right? I used to run myself into the ground, especially when I would work rehab, to get there an hour early, chart review my patient, try and come up with exercises, and try and come up with a plan. And I realized, pretty quickly that was not an efficient use of my time. Plans fell apart. And a lot of times, the goals that I was looking at and their documentation, it just didn't really give me any useful information, right? Everything was really cookie cutter. I would read the documentation and it would not give me a clear picture of who this human is and what they want to get back to doing. So I basically needed to come up with a simple solution that was going to allow me to take the cognitive load off of me, right? Like I needed to be able to maximize my reserve so I can bring excellence to many times different human beings every day of the entire week. And not only that, but it was also, I needed to create something that additionally would be something that would bring maximum benefit to my patient. So we're gonna go through a session that I created with a patient in acute care. So this is a patient who was in his 60s. He was very independent prior to admission, had a few comorbidities, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, used to be a smoker, and he was on a ladder doing some work at his home, and he fell off and broke his ankle. So he had surgery. He's non-weight bearing on his right lower extremity. I was not the first person to see him. I think I was about the third session in, and I think it was the last session before he was going to go home. So first and foremost, I'm thinking, make it meaningful. I really dig into my patients because this goal of just getting back to taking care of myself is not enough. That doesn't give me enough information. And so I'm really looking for two things. I'm looking for the have to and the want to. So the have to is, what are activities, tasks, demands that this patient needs to do to be able to get it just inside their home and navigate their home safely? Because I don't want them coming back on my caseload, so I want to set them up for success at home. The second is what they want to do, right? So I want to know what is going to be the one activity that they are most excited about doing once they are home and healthy, okay? So have to do's and want to do's. And so what that looked like, an actual dialogue with this patient, is I asked this to everybody, we are in the car, we are driving up to your home. I want to know in detail what it looks like to get out of the car, get to the way that you're going to take to get inside, and what it looks like going to your bedroom, bathroom, and kitchen, right? So I'm trying to get a very clear picture of the bare necessities. Can I get inside safely? How do I go to the bathroom? How do I eat? How do I sleep? So as we were going through this, he's telling me about his bathroom, and I always ask the width of the door and how much space, because I want to know if a walker can fit inside the bathroom. And that's when he stops and says, I don't think a walker can fit inside, at least not if I'm going forward. I would have to go sideways, and I'm like, and you can just see like fear come over his face, and he's saying how he's having a really hard time doing the hops with the walker going sideways. So boom, right there, I know that my workout is going to include sideways walking because this is meaningful to him. This is something he has to be able to do. So I'm going to make sure that we practice it so that he has some confidence there. The other thing, so when I want to know what he wants to do, right, I'm asking him, hey, when this ankle is all healed up and you are getting back to being able to do all the things that you want to do, what is the one activity that you are most excited about doing that brings you joy and brings you purpose? And he tells me, chopping wood. He chops wood all season long, not just in the winter. He loves making fires for his family, but he told me that he also just really loves to swing an axe. So boom, then I have a second piece of my workout. So I have two pieces of my workout. We're going to sideways step, and two, we are going to do something that looks like and feels like chopping wood. Awesome. So next, I'm designing a workout with him, okay? So I use the call, don't fall. If any of you have listened to me talk on any of these podcasts, I talk all the time about how I get really fired up about the 10 call, don't fall signs that are in the hospital rooms that literally do nothing to prevent falls and probably just induce fear. So I take one of those off the wall, I turn it over, and that's my whiteboard, okay? And so the next thing is that we go through designing the workout with him, okay? So what we're coming up with is that we're going to do some sit to stands, we're going to do some sideways stepping, and we're going to do a wood chop, which is basically a seated pillow slam, okay? So now we have kind of the bare bones of our workout. Now we load it. So the sit to stands, the sideways stepping, we're not adding any external load, right? Like he's already non-weight bearing, we're just doing body weight. Our pillow slam, our wood chop, we're going to load it. So what I do, and actually a lot of my patients talk about how they want to get back to chopping wood. So I've done this a few times, but I take a pillow and I load in the pillowcase ankle weights, or I will load it by, and some of you have maybe heard me talk about this technique before, getting towels, rolling them up, and soaking them in water. Putting them in the pillowcase, and then twisting the top, and that literally became our axe, right? So I don't have a normal pillow here. I have this fancy decorative pillow. Hopefully they don't freak out about me doing this, but basically it's like a seated ball slam, okay? So imagine he's holding on to the pillowcase and his right leg is propped up, and then he is going to, I had him kind of bend down with the pillow, bring it up over his head, and then slam it down. So that's what our chop would be like. And he was very lucky because I had just recently gone on a trip into the woods with my boyfriend, who was an Eagle Scout, and he taught me how to chop wood. So I was actually able to relate to my patient on this one, which was awesome. Okay, so then we need to dose it, right? And dosing it, that takes some time, right? And whether you guys do an AMRAP or an EMOM or whatever it is, as long as it's dosed appropriately and it's meaningful, then just choose something and go with it. And then you can tweak it as you go along, right? So the first thing I wanted to do is see what his tolerance was like and with a sit to stand. So I had him do an AMRAP of sit to stands with his walker, and RPE was not working for this fella. And you probably, a lot of you in this setting will find that that doesn't make any sense. So a lot of times I've made it simpler to, I will ask them, was that exercise easy, medium, or hard? Okay, and the biggest thing I wanna dial in is that the difficulty is at least medium. Okay, so I had him do an AMRAP of sit to stands, and then he was telling me at whatever rep he was on when it started to feel that medium difficulty. And that's how we dialed in how many reps that I was gonna have him do for the sit to stand portion. And then I put him through kind of like a round of having him do some sit to stands, some sidestepping, and then some of the chops to kind of get an idea of what his tolerance was like, because I wanted him to be able to get through a full round of work with specified rest. I didn't want to do something that was going to be too intense for him and he's having to stop constantly, because that wasn't going to build a whole lot of confidence in his abilities. So what we ended up coming up with was 6 90-second rounds with a work to rest ratio of 2-to-1, okay? So that looked like 20 seconds of sit to stands, 10-second rest. 20 seconds of sidestepping, 10-second rest. 20 seconds of the seated chop, 10-second rest. 6 rounds of 90 seconds. And so we go through this workout. He's able to stay within that work to rest ratio for the most part, maybe up until the last couple rounds, which is okay. I was fine with that. I was like, okay, I think we dosed this appropriately. And then afterwards, he's done, and he's a little bit sweaty, right? Alex Romano says, make PT sweaty again. He's a little sweaty. He's breathing pretty hard. And I'm like, how do you feel? Like, do you feel more confident about sidestepping? Hell yes, right? So that was the big thing, is that he's like, yeah, I actually can do that, and I feel good about it now. And then the other thing was just, in general, you're breathing kind of heavy right now. Was that really tough? Tell me how you're feeling. And he's like, that was maybe 6 minutes of work, and I am exhausted. Like I'm wiped. And I'm just worried about, I'm really worried about being able to get back on my feet and do everything I want to do at home and have the endurance and the stamina and the strength. Like if that amount of work exhausted me this much, like how am I going to carry out everything I want to do at home? And so there is opening a door to kind of get in and talk about how he feels about his health in general, you know? And so we get to talking about, do you exercise regularly? Do you get out of breath when you exercise? Any balance issues? You know, tell me about what happened when you fell off this ladder. And that opens his door to bring more of a functional context into our session and talking about, he's telling me how he has some balance issues. He kind of gets out of breath. He has to take a lot of breaks. So that's telling me that is my open door for selling physical therapy, a fitness forward approach to him, right? So we talk about the fact that, hey, I think it would be a really awesome idea for you to continue on what we've started here. Work with a fitness forward outpatient PT to get you going on a strengthening program, an aerobic conditioning program, so that you can get back to chopping that wood ASAP. And you can walk around the woods and walk around your home and get back on your ladder and feel awesome about it without having any brakes on, without having any fear. That right there is what sold it to him, like, yeah, I've got a lot of work to do. And by giving him that dose of intensity, right? Dealing the dope, giving him the goods, which our medicine is exercise, he now knows what the intensity should feel like. He's going to know if he's being underdosed by his next provider, and he's going to be able to advocate for himself. So with that, we got on the computer and we looked at the outpatient physical therapy clinics that were around his home. And now, thankfully, this happens very, very rarely. But thankfully, I knew that clinic location and I knew some of the therapists were there. So I was specifically able to tell him, hey, I know this clinic, I know this therapist, they will take wonderful care of you. This is where I really, really suggest that you go. So I've gotten him in to this fitness forward lane, and I'm sending him down the trajectory of the land of fitness down the road, the land of wellness, the land of health. And I'm keeping him in my lane because I'm doing this very direct handoff with that next provider. And that is the entirety of fitness forward approach. So when you guys are going into clinic today, be thinking about the formula, all right? Make it meaningful, load it, dose it. It's simple. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's simple. Make it easier on yourselves, you guys. You're putting this on the patient for them to tell you exactly what they want and exactly what they need. I am going to dive way deeper into this entire process on my Vice Talks that are going to be on July 27th and August 10th. So if you guys want a more in-depth version of this and applying it to different patients and getting into the research behind it and all that, then come hang out with me on those 2 dates on virtual ice. But with that, I'm sorry, there's a lot of, someone's playing some crazy music in the background here, so I'm sorry if that's been distracting you guys this whole time. But with that, have an awesome Wednesday and reach out with any questions. All right, guys, until next time.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.